I abused my medication from age like 12 until I was unable to get it anymore, and it turned into street drugs, pretty much. But once I got myself taken off of the Adderall, I didn't want to take it anymore, and it was my choice. I was about to be old enough, and they couldn't make me do it or something like that. So I was rebelling, you know. I was going against the grain. That's all there was to it. Like I didn't want to follow the system. I didn't want to follow the rules. I didn't want to do what you wanted me to do. I don't trust you. I don't believe you. Yeah, no. And it bit me hard.
All right, so Ryan, when you were growing up, was it like both parents in the household?
No, unfortunately not. When I was 2, my mother she was schizophrenic, and she shot and killed my father, I believe Christmas Eve. We were taken by the state, my sister and I. She was actually in the psych ward till she was born, with my mother actually. And we got united when I was like 3 into an adoption home. The adoption home didn't go very well. We were adopted by the Barlow family, Renee and George Barlow. We were, to say the least, not treated so fairly there. And later were dropped off in the care of the Department of Human Services. Then her and I went to another foster home, and that foster home didn't work out for one of us for one reason or the other. And we pretty much just bounced around to different foster homes, or at least I did. I believe she did end up finding a foster home that suited her for a while until she went to the Army. I kind of struggled and ended up in a group home by the time I was 16. Jerry Williams was the owner of a alternative residential treatment center, a children's home, group home in Akron, and I was in a lot of trouble in Canton for fighting in school and running away and just really struggling with my anger at the time. And Jerry came along and kind of took me under his wing when I was like 15 years old. He brought me up here to Akron, and I was in his group home for a year, 2 years, something like that. 17 came around, and of course I kind of rebelled against the system and decided I'd run away from the group home. I ended up in a big car accident out in Columbiana County and broke my pelvic bone and ruptured some discs in my lower lumbar and went through a windshield and damaged the frontal lobe of something in your brain, called short-term memory loss. So I'm struggling with that right now, but overall I've been able to kind of formulate my own family, so to speak. Right. My sister.
But before we get that far,
sure.
I just want to go back a little bit. So you said that your mom shot your dad on Christmas Eve when you were 2?
I was 2 years old.
Do you know why? Like what it was over?
No clue. My sister actually was with Homeland Security, so she was able to get the adoption records unsealed and find out the information, but the most that she got was that my mother was schizophrenic, my father was a truck driver, he came home some night and she shot him on the doorstep. I don't know if she just didn't want me to know all the details of it, or
right.
That's all I got.
Okay.
So
then, like, immediately after that happened, you and your sister were taken by Children's Services. Okay.
Yeah, and for whatever reason, no family members came up for us Nothing. Ever over the years. No family.
Were you close with anyone? Well, I mean, I guess you were young.
I was
You were
2. I didn't know
right?
anybody.
Yeah.
This was in 1987 in Alliance.
Okay. All right. And then, so as you got older, I don't know, 12, 14, like you never received any contact from like uncles, aunts?
None.
Nobody?
Nothing. I had my own childhood beliefs of who I was, you know, and they weren't fun. I had to try to understand how all these other children had parents, but I had these really not very nice people. Most of them were not very nice. Mm-hmm. They were not very caring. They were not there to help me. They were there to help themselves. Mm-hmm. And a lot of the times, my sister and I, and a lot of other kids in the system, went under the radar. They just slid right under the radar. Nobody paid attention. And yeah, I don't know.
Yeah. So were you and your sister in like an actual foster home, like just a family, or was it like a group home situation?
Well,
Or
she
both?
stayed in a foster home situation. I
Okay.
ended up having so much trouble with the family orient, should I say, that I couldn't settle with anybody. I couldn't trust anybody. I didn't want to be in a family. What is family to me, you know?
Right.
Yeah, no, I ended up in group homes. Group homes ended up being the better way for me to go because I didn't have to fake this front of you're my mom and you're my dad and
Yeah.
you know what I mean?
Right,
we both know that you're getting a paycheck for me to be in your house,
Mm-hmm.
and it's the only reason you brought me in here. And you're gonna treat me that way, and you're gonna treat your kids differently than you treat me, and that's the way it's always been in every single foster home that I would walk into. And by the end of it, I didn't trust anybody. I didn't want to trust anybody. I didn't want to give you the benefit of the doubt, and I didn't want to shake your hand either. You know. It took a whole lot, and one specific person later, besides Jerry, to straighten me out.
Mm-hmm.
And it was a lot of Jerry Williams, though. A lot of his wisdom and the way that he spoke. It's just the way he carries himself and the way he was at that age for me. It was a godsend. I don't think that anybody besides him was going to reach me, and I really believe God knew that himself, you know.
And this is why you were still in the group home.
Yeah.
So who was he? Was he like over the?
He owned the group home.
Oh, he owned it, okay.
Started it. I was the second kid he got
Mm-hmm.
for his business. I was the second child, if I'm not mistaken, that he would get. And I feel like maybe I didn't really do right by him when I ran away and all that. I didn't do him any favors, you know.
Right.
So.
What made you run away?
I was influenced by one of the other boys that wasn't in the group home anymore. He convinced me to go with him out to some county and party, and then never brought me back. And then after so long of me not being able to get back, I stopped trying, you know. I'm 18 almost. There's no point in going back to being told what to do, and I'm already out here living life, so
Right.
might as well start living. That's what I'm going to have to do anyway, right?
Yeah. So from that point on, you just stayed outside the group home.
Never went back to the system.
Were you in school?
No. By then I had had a serious car accident, was almost paralyzed, and was still recovering from that. Eventually I did recover from it, obviously, but I ended up leaving state and going down to Louisiana. I was going to try to get into an underground fighting tournament, and then after that I was going to get on a Coast Guard boat and work for the Coast Guard.
Mm-hmm.
Well, I made it to the tournament, I got my leg busted, and then I ended up doing a bunch of drugs and failing the drug test for Coast Guard. So I couldn't get on the boat. I ended up stuck down there in Louisiana with no money or way to get home back to Ohio, or what I knew as home.
Right. And why there? Why Louisiana? Just because of the tournament?
Another friend.
Oh, okay, another friend.
Another friend. I was going by the people that were around me.
Right.
I was kind of going with the flow of things. I didn't have any direction. I didn't have anybody telling me, no, Ryan, don't do that. That's not a good idea. I kind of had to go with my gut and figure it out.
Mm-hmm.
It wasn't really any other choice. Nobody's going to tell me what to do or how to do it. Nobody's going to teach me how to do it right. So I got to figure out how to do it on my own, because it's not anybody's responsibility to teach me. All the people's responsibility that it was are gone.
Mm-hmm.
They gave that chance up.
So by this point, you're 17, 18, something like that. You're out on your own. Did you ever get in contact with Jerry again, or?
I stayed in contact with Jerry. Once I turned 18 and knew it was okay for me to contact him, that he couldn't get in any trouble for me, because once I ran away from the group home underage, he was legally obliged to turn me in wherever I told him I was or anything. He's immediately supposed to call the authorities because I'm a ward of the state. The state technically owned me.
Mm-hmm.
So I waited until I was 18 to contact him. And then once I did, he was always there for me. He always gave me advice. He had always been the father figure that I didn't get.
Mm-hmm.
And I recognize it. Even today, I recognize him as the father figure that I didn't get. I still talk to him today. I was actually hoping to meet him for lunch after this because he lives pretty close to here. So.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, but he's in Pittsburgh today, so he won't. He had a business meeting out there, I believe.
Okay. And then you had mentioned about you couldn't get into the Coast Guard because you did like a bunch of drugs.
I was using meth and marijuana at the time when it wasn't legal anywhere. And I was at a party. I had injured my knee and used a bunch of drugs. And then the Monday that I went in to go for the Coast Guard, they drug tested you, and I failed the drug test. And they couldn't let me work on their boats. So,
okay. Did you like start off with like the weed and then progress to meth, or was it just?
Actually, I was prescribed Adderall
when
I was a child for ADHD.
Okay.
And I abused my medication from age like 12 until I was unable to get it anymore, and it turned into street drugs. Mm-hmm. Pretty much. But once I got myself taken off of the Adderall, I didn't want to take it anymore, and it was my choice. Mm-hmm. I was about to be old enough, and they couldn't make me do it or something like that. So I was rebelling, I was going against the grain. That's all there was to it. Like I didn't want to follow the system. I didn't want to follow the rules. I didn't want to do what you wanted me to do. I don't trust you. I don't believe you. Yeah, no. And it bit me hard.
And when you abused it, like, was it like a feeling that was different when you took, I guess, more than what you...
So what would happen was I would be more focused. I would be more intense, more into whatever I was doing. If I was writing something, I put more time in it, and it seemed more interesting. And I could be stuck writing the same sentence over and over and over and over if I did too much.
Okay.
And that's what it'd be like. I'm running in circles like a hamster on a wheel.
Right.
But I don't see that. I'm so high. I see this creative side of me that nobody else is seeing. You know what I mean? Like, it was pretty sick. Pretty sick.
And then from Adderall, you said went to like street drugs?
Yeah,
So
I went to marijuana.
Okay.
I ended up smoking weed for the first time at Timken High School and being taken in an ambulance because it had like wet in it or whatever they called it, embalming fluid. It had been laced. And it was the first time I'd ever smoked pot. So I didn't know what was going on. I felt like the floor was melting underneath of me, and I got scared, and they called the paramedics, and I got taken to the hospital. I had to go to Quest Recovery Services for a short time, about 6 months. Finished their program. I was against drugs for the longest time after that. For the longest time. When I say the longest time, I think maybe a year.
Okay.
So, then the street drugs just came. You know what I mean? It was now I'm just like, I'm out here. I can do what I want. Nobody can stop me. Who's going to stop me? There's no parents telling me, man, we're really disappointed in you, Ryan. This isn't the kind of person we want you to be. That was my choice. I got to judge whether I wanted to be this person or not. And at 17 years old, you don't have the mind to make that kind of choice. You're not ready to make those kinds of choices. I don't really think we're ready to make those choices till we're well into our 20s. And some of us not even then, you know. So, I don't know. What else did you want to know about that?
So,
I forget if I missed something. I'm sorry.
So is there a point where you were using one drug in particular, or was it just whatever?
No, by the time I was 17 years old, it was anything and everything to get out of the reality that I was in. By that time, I was so addicted to chaos that stability didn't make sense to me. If everything wasn't chaos, I didn't know what to do. I didn't know how to deal with life. I could not live life on life's terms. Not sober. No way. I didn't even like drinking, and I'd get drunk if there was nothing else. I'd huff gasoline, embalming fluid, anything to get me out of the world that I was living in, the reality that I had to face every day. Nowhere to go, no family, no education, no one to talk to.
And like, how are you getting by? Like
drugs.
No, I mean like living,
drugs,
food, shelter.
Drugs.
How so?
Well, I developed an entourage of drug users around me that knew my story and basically, what do they call it? Enabled me to be a drug abuser and to use them in a sense. Basically just being a bum on somebody's couch and doing whatever little work I can to slide under the radar and nobody care that I'm there. You know, just being a piece of shit, really. There's no other word for it. You know, when I look at myself today and I look at the person I was at 17, when everybody was trying to help me and I didn't want to listen, big difference, you know.
Right.
I can't go back and say, man, you know, yeah, it sucks that my mom shot and killed my father, but there were plenty of times in my life where I could have done better. You know what I mean? God did give me the tools to make it, you know what I mean? Like, so the adoption didn't go well. Some foster homes didn't go well. Jerry was the remedy for that, and I even ran from that, you know what I mean? So I refused to put it all on social Department of Human Services or on the foster homes or on my parents, you know what I mean? Like a lot of my struggles in my life after what happened with my parents came from the decisions that I made. And that's really all there is to it, you know?
So you're in this space where you're kind of like just living on people's couches, you're just doing whatever drugs you get your hands on. Life is chaos, but you kind of prefer it that way. So how do you get out of that? So like,
I
when
did
did the
it
moment
for a
come?
long time.
Right.
Let me see. Well, there were a few stints in jail. Little petty charges that came along, and I had to sit in jail, and I'd clean up for a little bit, and I'd get a little God in my life, you know. And there was always that good side of me, that good person, that Christian boy who was raised in church, even though he was getting beat on, he still knows who God is, you know what I mean? Like, I still had morals to live by, you know what I mean? And ask me that question again.
So, like your life is like chaos, but you prefer it that way. You're doing drugs, you're staying on people's couches. So like at what point did something click where you're like, I gotta get out of this, and you start making the steps to...
I met Jody 9 years ago.
Okay.
I met Jody Apple. I have met and been acquainted with and ran with some really, really ugly people, and been okay with that. And then I've been around some really good people and ran away from them. There's something wrong there, you know? One day, I run into Jody Apple. I was like 17. she was dating one of my friends in the group home. And there was just something about this girl, man. She was special. There was just something about her, and I didn't know what it was. It wasn't because she was pretty, you know, it wasn't because she had money, it wasn't because she lived in Fairlawn. It didn't have anything to do with it. There was something about the person that she was, the who that she was inside. And I remember that. I remember her for the rest of my life, up until 9 years ago. I moved back here from PA, and I'm trying to get cleaned up from heroin, and I'm battling with it, you know, I'm picking up painkillers, and then I'm using dope, and then I won't use dope, I'll just take a painkiller, and then I won't take anything for a day or two, but then after 3 days I'm back on it again. You know, I'm not doing well with getting clean at all. And for some reason I decided to get on OkCupid. Mm-hmm. And Jody Apple pops up, and I'm like, Jody Apple, why do I recognize her? You know, hit her up. Boom, I start realizing who she is. Oh my gosh, it's Jody Apple, you know? Mm-hmm. So we link up, and I go out to her house for a little couple hours or something like that. I can't remember what it was. I think there was something she needed help with. It was kind of the icebreaker. Yeah. Come hang out and help me with something, go from there. And it turned out really well. It actually turned out so well that for the first time in my life, when I got back to my apartment and sat down on my couch, I broke down in tears and cried because I had realized that I had just been in heaven. Mm. I had just felt what heaven must be like. And I didn't want to lose it again. You know, I didn't want to lose that feeling. I didn't want it to go away. I wanted it to stay forever. I have never felt this way around anybody, and I can't let this person leave. And I didn't. I didn't let her leave. I called her and I bawled and I asked her to come back and get me. And it's been a struggle. It's been a struggle. It really has. It's been a struggle for her, for me, for the boys.
You want to take a minute?
Yeah.
Okay. All right. So where we left off, you're with Jody now and the boys, 2, right?
There are 2 boys, yes,
boys.
Sir.
And from what I understand, from a past relationship
Mm-hmm.
first. Okay. So you kind of go from a situation where you didn't really have a family at all to now, almost like overnight, you have a family. Mm-hmm. And you're like the father figure in the household.
It took a long time and work to be able to say, yes, I'm a father figure in the household. You know, if I'm going to be honest, it took a lot, and I'm still working on that. You know, I won't even say that I'm fully capable of being a father. You know, I have a lot of work to do on myself yet, and fortunately, our children these days know that. You know, they are going to put up their own walls with you until they see what they're looking for in you. You know what I mean? Until they build that trust with them, and they know that you're not that guy anymore. You know that you're capable of being a good person and doing the right things. You know, that's when then the walls come down. You know, right. and they can say, yeah, that's my dad. You know, it's not my mom's boyfriend. That's my dad. Mm-hmm. You know. And I think that's important to give them that respect, you know. You'll see a lot of children that will call a father figure in their house dad, but not really understand what that means, mm-hmm. you know. And it's just a word in some houses.
Yeah.
And in our house, it's not a word that we just throw around lightly, no more than we do mother, you know. A child has to make that decision if they're going to call you dad, you know. And it's not to say that they don't think of me as their dad or that I've been some kind of horrible person to them. Like, that's not what I mean. I just mean that in order for me to have called somebody father when I was growing up, it would have taken a lot, clearly. So I have to look in these child's eyes and give them the same consideration that I expected when I was a kid, you know?
Yeah.
I got to meet them where they're at until they're ready to say, okay, yeah, he's a good dude that's my dad, man. You know, when he goes to hang out with his friends, that's my dad, man. You know? Yeah, it'll warm me up one day. It'll happen.
Yeah.
But I'm not going to press for it. I'm not going to push him for it. I'm just going to keep doing what I got to do to take care of me and these boys. And one day they'll appreciate that, you know, for what it is, I think.
Yeah. So you feel like a lot of the experiences that you kind of had, and maybe the things that you lacked, they're kind of feeding into what you're doing now, right?
I absolutely took all of the experiences in my childhood and applied them over the last 9 years with these boys. Jonah was still in the womb when Jody and I met, and Jacob was 7 years old or 8 years old and really struggling with his anxiety. And at the time, I knew one way to deal with kids, the way I got dealt with, you know? And it was hard for me to watch Jody, to just sit there and watch Jody go through what she was going through and not really have the male support that she needed raising him, you know, in some senses. The oldest boy was, he didn't have me for 7 years. He had mom, that's it, you know. So that was a serious adjustment for him to make, for a man to just come in one day and be supposed to be a father figure. What is that, Mom? What are you talking, you know? So yeah, there was a struggle there. But now Jonah's known me since the day he was born, you know. He knows that I'm not his dad, you know. He knows that he was artificially inseminated. So I'm the father he's got. You know what I mean? He understands. We don't lie to our kids. You know what I mean? Like, I don't know. I think that I absolutely have to say that I have taken all the experiences in my life as a child with the adults, and I've applied the lessons that I've learned by the mistakes that I've made and the mistakes others have made with me. And I'm not perfect, by far I'm not perfect, but I really do my best to try to be a good person when it comes to their well-being, when it comes to considering their feelings. I struggle with PTSD, and my mother was schizophrenic, so there's a small chance that by my age now I might be struggling with it too or something, but I'm working on getting help with it and see what's really going on there. But in any case, when it comes to the Apple family, they have been the rock and the compass or whatever to guide me into the direction that I have been over the last few years. And without them, I wouldn't be here. There's no way anybody would be able to stand here and talk to me. We wouldn't be able to have this conversation. So I'm definitely thankful for that. I'm thankful for them. Definitely thankful for God placing these people in my life that he did, when he did. And even after all the times that I turned my back to him and what he wanted for me, you know.
So it's been like, we said like 9 years, right? Since Jody kind of came back into your life, or I guess until you reconnected. So now at this point, where do you go from here?
I am...
How do you see things playing out for the next few years?
Well, I'm self-employed.
Mm-hmm.
She's retiring as an Akron public school teacher right now. I've started a contracting business, and I also have a public recording studio that I'm working on with the Emerald Hive in Fairlawn, Ohio. Jody Apple is the owner and operator of Henna Bliss and Doodle Dreams coloring books. She doodles adult coloring books.
Okay.
And does henna tattoos, private henna parties. And then she also volunteers her time at the Emerald Hive with product development, artist development, and my studio's in the back of the Emerald Hive. So we are all kind of working together to try to build the artist collective over there.
Okay. And artists from like all
Anywhere.
different.
We're interviewing any artists,
Mm-hmm.
and we will display and sell and advertise artists' art. So they can come in and speak with Lisa Yedizion at the Emerald Hive and discuss with her renting space to advertise their art. Say they've painted a picture and they want to sell it for $300. They could talk to Lisa about renting a space on her wall where people come in and look, and she puts it on the eBay and advertises it for sale. And it's a really nice place to go and hang out, listen to music, check out the art. Working on getting a kitchen set up in there so you can order food. So it'll be a nice little place for adults to go where there's not drugs and alcohol, and you can still have fun.
Okay. So I think when the camera was off, I think you made a comment, something like against all odds,
Mm-hmm.
right? Like you have a family and things somehow, they worked out.
Yeah, they did, but I think a lot of that is God.
Mm-hmm.
God has a hand on everything that I do, no matter what it is. Even when something doesn't work out the way that I want it to, I'm able to accept that that's what God wants. You know what I mean? And being able to do that today is a huge step for me. And like I said, I'm not perfect. I am definitely still struggling. You may not tell now, but I struggle with high anxiety. I have PTSD. There's like 3 types. You've got, how do they describe it? Flight, fight, and freeze.
Yeah.
And unfortunately, I'm a fighter.
Mm-hmm.
And sometimes I don't even realize that my voice is raised and I'm in attack mode, and that's my PTSD. I don't even know what's going on,
Mm-hmm.
and it's over the littlest things, things that wouldn't average bother a human being as much as they do me,
Mm-hmm.
So, but that's a lot of that, and I urge this for anybody that's struggled with addiction and drugs and alcohol. A lot of that is just my brain having been basically comatose in drugs and alcohol for so long that I never felt the emotions and dealt with the thoughts of my childhood and the feelings that came with it and the events that took place in my life. I never dealt with all of that. I was always caught up in my drugs and alcohol and getting messed up and not remembering anything, and because of that, I struggle today with the memory lapse and the anger and the emotional distress. And I see I'm going to start seeing a counselor twice a week now instead of once a month. I might have to start a mood stabilizer or something this week. We don't know. As you get older, things change.
Right.
I started as a kid. I had to take some kind of medications for my ADHD. It could be that I'm struggling with that and my PTSD are clashing,
Mm-hmm.
But in any case, if we always continue to work on ourselves and every day, that's what we focus on, that we continue to work on ourselves and continue to grow and evolve and do better than the day before. Even if you fail miserably, you'd get up the next day and you try again and again and again, and eventually you will get it. Eventually it will work out. Eventually things will go smooth. It won't always be smooth. You're gonna get stressed. Everything's not gonna be perfect. Okay? It's not fairy tale land. This is life. But as long as you don't pick up and you don't use, you'll be able to handle it. And that's really all I can say about it.
Okay. Well, that's perfect. I think we should probably just leave it right there. That's a perfect way to end it. All right, Ryan. Well, thanks for telling your story. I do appreciate it, man.
Thank you.
All right.
Have a good day.
All right.